Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
The document I have here says, and this is from the mental illness warrant. I don't have the date it was filed or by who. My
Okay.
apologies. Quote: She thinks everyone is out to get her. Also, she thinks her life is in danger all the time. And then I have some stuff in between there. There, I pick up the quote again. She gets into confrontations with someone and they threaten her.
Oh, so I was telling the police that I was getting threatened, and they have people threaten me in corruption, and then therefore cover for them. But I thought these were charges.
I
But you denied me mental health treatment, so I'm not
Well,
really getting clarity on if
so we.
I'm not just really getting clarity on if the police brought me here thinking that since I'm reporting crimes, brought me here in handcuffs for me trying to report crimes. How was the mental health treatment I deprived of it?
I'm pulling up the full chart.
Okay.
Allow me 1 moment for it to
Okay.
pull up.
Okay.
Apologies.
Because they did this 3 times in one day. Like I said, the lady said that she was going to try to give me a criminal trespass for the hospital and said she's done playing games. And then I asked her, police repeatedly keep bringing me here. What do you mean you're done playing games?
Okay.
And then that's when she walked off.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's cool. Go ahead.
So at that time, it states that your niece filled out the mental illness warrant that ultimately brought you to our facility on that date, March 13th. So your niece or someone stating that your niece.
No, that's not the time that I'm speaking of that I thought I saw you when you
Oh.
denied mental health treatment. That's the only time that you see yourself in there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I
can
did.
check again.
Yeah. No, that was a blatant lie, and committing someone on false statements is a crime, but no one will investigate it because my niece wasn't there for several days. So that was definitely a false lie, a false statement. They could check her cell phone, or if she was at work and with other people. If anyone would do law enforcement, it's a blatant lie. But the police list people in my environments to conspire with their abuse, and they didn't even want me staying with a family member and just showed up there. But the police showed up another night, and my sister was the most afraid I've ever seen a human being my whole life. I said, "What is wrong with you? Is someone doing something to you?" Her and her mother-in-law was afraid. Well, her child's dad. I call it mother-in-law, but they weren't married. So they were they both were crying and hysterical. And then a little bit later, the police came after Shadows. And then they were trying to set me up and frame me with mental illness. I had just got out of jail on false charges, couldn't get money out my account, and all kinds of couldn't get my food stamps that had stacked up. So I was in a financial crisis. So, and the police didn't want me staying there and scammed a way to get me put out of there with my own family. And they've done it again when that date where my niece came. So the prior incident when they were crying and hysterical, the police came over trying to set me up and frame me with mental illness after I had just got out of jail on false charges and had experienced all that insanity. And then my family member, like I said, was crying. Then when I got my phone, they immediately left. Because I wanted to record their misconduct, and I thought this was police brutality. But in all my environments, the police are all around the place here, and then other strange things are occurring here. Everyone lies about their mandatory reporting, which is criminal. Because if you repeatedly hear someone say, "I'm a government witness," and then you see police openly lie and enlist you in harassment and other crimes, I just don't understand why people aren't getting their federal charges. So the other time where I believe that I spoke to you and mental health treatment was denied. So then we have the one with my niece lie, the blatant lie with my niece, and then I think there was another time.
I checked. That's the only time I've had an encounter.
Okay, that was the only time.
Yes,
maybe that was the only time recorded. But okay, well, let's talk about the other times that I came in that you should see.
Well, so
I want to get back to address to the other times that I came and didn't get mental health treatment. So what was going on while they denied the mental health treatment? And since you have the information there, can you check?
Well, so I mean,
can you look first before we deflect?
I can look. However, I'm more interested in what we can do for you now.
I would like to know, because if they do the same thing again, I want to compile evidence that this is repeatedly happening. And then you say you're not aware if someone's active. I'm just getting clarity, because if someone's actively here seeking mental health treatment, and then the establishment is claiming that they have to prove it in a con to exclude that person from treatment, I thought that was federal charges. So I'm trying to figure out why I repeatedly keep getting discharged from Parkland, trying to seek mental health treatment.
So you want to be admitted to our psychiatric unit?
I'm just trying to see.
Well, I mean, is that the question at hand? Because
we discussed it, and then you said that there was an approval process.
I'm asking what you want, not what the approval process is. Like, I'm kind of like shifting gears a little bit here because I kind of like I haven't really asked, and I'm sorry.
Well, I like to
what-
stick to one
what
thing
you
at a time. When I
want.
was
Oh,
discharged wanting mental health treatment, can you see what happened then?
there's multiple times, and I can get you to where we can get you the records and paper, and it would probably.
I
be
would
much
like
more
to just go over
precise.
one real quick. You don't want to discuss it?
The one, okay, we'll go
Where I was discharged?
March 13th, 2023.
Not that one. The
Okay,
one
which
where I was
one?
discharged within hours.
Let me see here. Separate encounters. Let me pen this.
Okay.
And here, 1 hour on the 26th, and then I have another one. Okay, so there's two on the 26th. Are you going to go for the first one or the second one?
Both.
One or the other, so we can start there.
I can't get both. It's only in one day.
Well, so there's a lot of information.
Okay, let's see what happened.
Okay, we'll go the first one then.
Okay, if that's the one.
I mean, it's the first one, right?
Okay.
So on that encounter, let's see here. Oh. Were brought in, according to the notes, you were brought in by the police department after calling the police reporting suicidal ideation. You were assessed, and you, from documentation I have here,
Okay.
just stating documentation, all I have.
Okay.
So I just want that known. It states that, let's see here. And it was you stating you wanted to be admitted, that you didn't plan to follow up with MetroCare because, quote, they can't help me with housing and people stalking me.
Within the hour?
Mhm.
Okay, so I said I want to be suicidal. I was suicidal, and they wanted me to go to MetroCare at Parkland Hospital. And then, okay, go ahead and finish. I'm just trying to get clarity. They said they referred me to MetroCare, and I didn't want it.
Well, then here, I'll just read you the entirety of the note.
Okay.
Patient reported that she would like an environment for being suicidal, and, quote, I would like to be put in a safe environment, end quote. Despite claims of wanting treatment, patient reported that she isn't interested in taking any medications, and that even if she were to do so, she reported that she does not plan to follow up outpatient at MetroCare because, quote, they can't help me with housing and people stalking me, end quote. She was unable to identify how being admitted would change her situation in any meaningful way and became increasingly frustrated, saying, quote, I've been in the hospital for weeks, sometimes months, but now that I'm trying to be admitted, the whole policy changed, end quote. She then was upset at social worker, telling social worker that it's their job to find her stable housing. She was unwilling to consider talking about boarding homes upon previous encounter or currently only saying that she needs to be in the hospital. Patient was eventually able to discuss shelter options, being informed that the Salvation Army is next door. Patient then stood up, ending the interview, saying she wanted to leave because, quote, you're discharging me anyway, end quote. Asking our names and attempting to get her phone and record staff, she was able to be redirected and then demanded a ride to the shelter from the police officer in intake.
Okay. That's blatant lies in these reports. And, I thought conspiring to violate someone's rights was a felony. So what really happened was I got pickpocketed. And then the police covered for the pickpocketing. Okay.
Mhm.
So I get gang stalked all the time and get threatened and different things. And I can't get law enforcement. And sometimes not even catch the bus. And it was cold outside. And I was blacklisted from our shelter that's highly dangerous for a targeted individual. So I was at the hospital and at the hotel at the Fairfield Inn where the pickpocketing occurred. Because I tried to get the hotel room. They lied and said that they lied and said, no, another hotel, Motel 6 con, that I couldn't be there, and it was a blatant lie. So then I went to the Fairfield Inn and got a ride by a gang stalker. And the gang stalker stole my, I know that they're a gang stalker because they behaved odd. They had some kind of argument and were yelling and cussing. It scared me, but I didn't, so anyway, they took my wallet with all my money and my everything. So then I tried to report it to the police. They wouldn't take the reports because they're setting it up. So that happened at Fairfield Inn. So I called 911 and told them I was suicidal because I couldn't escape the abuse the government was listening. This person pickpocketed me. They wouldn't do law enforcement. I get gang stalked. I get harassed, and they cover for all of it. So since they're setting it up, they couldn't put that in the report. They had to set me up to cover their own behind and people that they set up. So then when I got here, I told them I was suicidal because I could not escape abuse the government was in. They deprived me of the right to speak with the victim's advocate. They released me, and then I got a pudding cup, and they acted like I was going to slit my wrist because they said I wasn't suicidal. So I got a pudding cup, and they said, "What do you mean by suicidal?" And I said, "I'll show you," and got the pudding cup and started acting like I was going to slit my wrist, and they got me and discharged me anyway, doing that in front of them. So since doing this is criminal, they have to set it up to blame me for their criminal activity. That way they don't get accountability. So then if I'm telling them if I want to be at the hospital, why would I leave? That doesn't make sense. Something about I left and then wanted to demand it for them to take me to Salvation Army right now. That sounds like a blatant lie. Like a 3-year-old set it up if you really dissect it and go through it. So I'm saying that I want to be in the hospital and then I stormed out and demanded for the police to take me to Salvation Army. Well, I went to Salvation Army, security started an argument, and I never got shelter there. So then when I didn't get the con was Salvation Army, some kind of con to get me from shelter there, which is still federal conspiracy charges for all these places scheming to keep me from services year after year. So then I went to Salvation Army, they denied shelter, and the whole con was to keep me in this torment and oppression and this terror from being a government witness targeted on the streets going through this living nightmare. That's the whole point. They didn't want me to have shelter. Someone's paying a lot of money. I don't know how much, but it's a lot to keep me from safety and shelter. It's enforced. So then I called at Salvation Army saying I want to hurt myself again. So then the police took me back to Parkland. Then you don't want to tell me what happened in the second report.
No, I can't.
Oh, okay, that would be nice.
Patient's third visit to the ED in the past 24 hours. I spoke with the officers that brought the patient to the hospital. They stated she was a Salvation Army endorsing SI. Patient was unwilling to
No,
participate.
so she was at Salvation Army and what?
You asked. I apologize. I spoke too quickly. I'll go back and repeat.
Okay.
This is the patient's third visit to the ED in the past 24 hours. I spoke with the officers that brought the patient to the hospital. They stated she was at Salvation Army endorsing SI.
Endorsing?
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
Endorsing SI? It means they asked you if you wanted to end your life and you replied in the affirmative.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Patient was unwilling to participate in a meaningful conversation with them and continued to yell statements about being suicidal and being refused care. So she was placed under emergency detention and brought to the hospital. On assessment, patient states, quote, "you again," end quote, when I came to assess her. She continues to state that she's being refused care. She states that she went to the Salvation Army but was told they were full. When the police came, patient states she asked them not to bring her to Parkland, but they did. Continues to endorse SI in the context of homelessness and wanting a place to reside. No report of HI or auditory or visual hallucinations on assessment. Past psychiatric history, which was done per a chart review according to the note. Prior psychiatric diagnoses are unspecified psychosis, reported paranoid schizophrenia, delusional disorders. Past suicide attempt, denied. Prior psychiatric hospitalizations, date, location, JPS 2923 to 21623, 17 West May 2021. Clinical follow-ups, none. Past psych medications, hydroxyzine, Haldol.
Is that it?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Sorry, it has a page break.
Okay.
Let's see here. And then the next section of it will start over with the first preamble part, which I will read again if you want.
No, you don't have to read that again, but the next part.
And allow me to.
Okay.
She will act in manners that will get her brought back to the hospital. For example, threatens to go to the lobby and overdose or cut wrists at intake. States she will continue these actions until her needs are met. However, she refuses to make any efforts to help her needs get met. For example, she was offered a period of time to make calls to secure self-placement at a boarding home, but patient refused. Instead, upon discharge, she will begin to video staff on her phone and state she is being refused care and they wouldn't allow her to use the phone to make any calls. She is also noted to be saying she was never offered resources, although she was. After patient's second discharge, she can be heard asking to be taken to DBH. Based on
What's
patient's
DBH?
Dallas Behavioral Healthcare
Okay.
Hospital. Based on patient's presentation and reported videos, patient appears to have knowledge of the system and is attempting to manipulate staff at various locations, Salvation Army, DPD, DCH, DPD, PED, to get her needs met. However, her continued future orientation with requests to be hospitalized or be given housing demonstrates that she does not wish to end her life. The only gesture she made in front of multiple staff members when she informed them that she was going to do if not given what she wants. At this time, patient does not appear to be in imminent risk of harm to self or others and is cleared from a psychiatric perspective. Further prolonging her hospitalization at this time will reinforce her maladaptive behavior and further increase her chronic risk. Patient cleared from a psychiatric perspective.
Okay. So let me make sure I understand. Okay. So hospital staff at one point say that I'm schizophrenic, delusional, and got confrontational. Okay. So that I appear to have mental health issues. And then I have a history of hospitalizations. That's what it said. Is that what
This
it
is what
said?
the note says. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay. So someone stating that you think is mentally unstable
Mhm.
is they're saying that they want to hurt themselves and asking for hospitalization, and then staff deny it multiple different parties, multiple different times, and then blame that party for their misconduct. I thought that this was criminal and charges. If someone is asking for mental health treatment that you think is deranged and is committing suicide in front of you, and then you're discharging them and then gaslighting that person you're violating, you're thinking that that's going to alleviate any consequences. It's just really not making sense. So at one end, the person is paranoid schizophrenia. Then, in addition to a psycho that's deranged and committing suicide in front of you, you force her out to social workers, police, and an army full of people to leave and call numbers on their own, thinking that no one will suspect you're racking up felonies year after year. So someone you think is deranged and has a disability, some kind of way you repeatedly keep depriving of housing and shelter and services, which are federal charges, and then thinking that you can con and manipulate these records that don't make sense. So how is it that the police department, hospital staff let someone that has a disability with mental illness not have a place to stay? I thought it was your responsibility if someone as a social worker and police, that someone that's mentally unstable, that you could secure stability and not release them homeless.
Are you asking me?
I'm just,
to
yeah, you're a
what from
social
them?
worker.
Because
Yes.
I am not able to get inside the heads.
Oh, I'm just
of
saying,
members
if
from
you're a
the
social
past.
worker in common sense, if a party that you think is unstable and unbalanced and committing suicide in front of you, how does it seem like mental health providers and the police aren't mentally unstable, that mentally ill themselves by discharging that person with no stable environment, safe environment, even though it's a liability? So the con is that the person is highly mentally ill, so you're discharging them without shelter, and then lying and slandering them, saying that they don't want to go to a boarding home, and then actively take them to Salvation Army. In one sitting, I demanded to go to Salvation Army. Now I'm demanding that I don't want housing at the boarding home. So it just really doesn't make sense. It just seems like a lot of pathological lies all over the place, hoping that people don't realize that that's what's going on. So can you tell me, from your perspective, Thomas E., as a psychiatrist, how?
Psychiatrist.
Oh, it says
It says psychiatry.
psychiatry. I'm sorry, you're a social worker.
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. So you're a social worker. So does that sound like misconduct if a person is volatile and has a history of mental illness that they claim that's severe, and claiming to be committed suicide in front of multiple different parties and police, and then therefore she's released into homelessness without safety, and she's highly deranged and combative? Does that make sense?
I could not comment on
As a
something that was
social
not-
worker,
I was not.
but I thought that there was
So-
mandatory reporting.
Hold on.
Okay.
You're asking me something that happened where I was not involved.
No, but the thing of it,
Therefore,
but there's
I
mandatory
can-
reporting if you think something is suspicious, and I'm telling you there's a history of schemes and pathological lies all over the place to
there's
keep
a
me from
mandatory
services.
reporting for healthcare workers of suspected abuse and neglect of children or the elderly. Those are the mandatory reportings that we have. In the state of Texas.
Okay, we don't have to deflect. So
I'm going to tell you exactly what.
Well, if you don't have to report it, you guys claim that you don't have to report it, and you don't get your misdemeanor charge because no one's reporting all of the insanity. Well, I'm not seeing government. I'm not seeing victims advocates. I'm not seeing witness protection anywhere. So there hasn't been accountability. People are not reporting. So, but from your point of view, does that make sense? Does it sound like a lot of misconduct around my environments?
It seems like that you've been attempting to get help for a very, very long time, and it's been thwarted in multiple different ways.
Right, and I thought that was a felony.
Well, I don't think we even need to get the legal system involved because I'd rather be. I'm more concerned with how do we get.
Well, the FBI does investigate things like this, so that is something that.
So I'm not a part of the FBI or part of.
But I mean, you're a social worker, and if I'm not able
to. I
to.
have no formal legal training of any.
But I am communicating to a social worker, and if all social workers railroad me and keep me in my situation, how am I ever going to flee it? If no one's willing to do the mandatory reporting, which I thought was a misdemeanor, and they all have excuses, then how? That's why I'm stuck in it for so long.
So,
and then all these false reports, like the slander by my own flesh and blood sister, being committed by a person that wasn't even there, which is criminal. But the police set it up so they want to investigate it, like the pickpocketing they want to investigate.
I'm curious, what happened that you found yourself in this situation?
I think that we need to really recognize these charges that these government officials have chosen to rack it up, and then blaming me, and then saying how I found myself in this situation.
I am not blaming you. I am simply trying to understand.
But I want accountability for people here right now, and in multiple different environments, like the crime victims compensation lady. Let me record this. Here. So she lied and said that the only thing that they do was counseling. Right here it says. Lots of professional counseling, advocates assist with safety planning and crisis intervention, provides emotional support. And this is important to your social worker, and help with crime victims application. She didn't do any of that. Case managers provide referrals and information on available community resources for VIP clients needing social services. And then community education and outreach. Staff is available to give presentation on child abuse, teen dating, violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, domestic violence, and more. And then right here, stalking was added in there. For some reason, it's removed because my online was manipulated. It didn't have all this, but it did have stalking on there. But this one has stalking omitted. So that means that maybe a stalker had them omitted, hoping that I wouldn't realize that they help with stalking, and that's clear-cut evidence that I'm really being stalked. If someone would omit stalking, so I can't get help with it. I don't know how am I going to be able to communicate with the social worker my experiences if I'm being interrupted communicating it.
Ms. Clark, I understand there's a great deal that's gone on prior to our meeting here. My question now is, what is the one tangible thing I can do to help you?
Right, but this is a repeated pattern that people who have degrees keep repeatedly in their corruption asking me what I can do instead of advocating for me and giving me direction on what they are willing to do. So there are multiple different parties.
Do you want to sign in voluntarily to our psychiatric EOU here?
I thought that was I already have been told by
I'm asking you.
I thought I was answering it right now, and I couldn't.
Yes or no? Do you want to be taken? Do you want to sign in voluntarily to our psychiatric extended observation unit?
I've already been signed in, and then I got brought here supposedly for them to check my stomach out. I've been here several hours, but I don't know what the scheme of it is. Because if I already checked myself in for mental health treatment, why has 5 people came in here and asked me the same thing?
Because you haven't signed in voluntarily to psychiatric.
What was I doing when I was over there and the police took my phone? I was already over there.
Oh, in the intake area. The intake area isn't actually officially the psychiatrist.
They had me over there in the hospital. Then they took me to the other.
Absolutely correct. They had you over there and they brought you back over here for medical concerns, right? So you weren't ever technically admitted into a psychiatric area.
Right, but I filled out the paperwork to start the process. I went over the information with them.
The paperwork you filled out was for the medical treatment, not for the psychiatric.
It was for psychiatric. They asked questions for psychiatric.
They asked questions. The consent paperwork they had you sign was for medical, though. The consent paperwork, the consent to treatment was for medical, not for psychiatric.
They claimed that it was the mental health part. I had been to, let me explain. Mm-hmm. I went to the same main part, okay? The main part of the hospital where I signed in. I told them that Nexus denied substance abuse treatment because I told them about laws. She disregarded me, and then someone else immediately called me to lure me out in front of all the witnesses. They took me to another area where it's a lot of insanity I experienced right in front of the cameras by multiple different parties that I keep on repeatedly reporting. So if someone could establish a pattern, if someone would do law enforcement and look at the cameras in areas that I'm in. So then they had me go from that area to the area where the police was. He demanded my phone. I was doing something on my phone. He told me I needed to hurry up and give it to him right then because I was doing descriptions on what was happening, reporting the police. At that moment that he was demanding my phone right then. So then they asked me questions, and then they said that they were going to send me back over to medical, is what she said. They asked me the mental health questions. Now, I don't know what part of the assessment that was or what was going on, but she asked me mental health questions, and she said because of my medical concerns, she was going to send me back here. I guess I've been here 4 or 5 hours because I got.
I've been here 5 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
In total.
Yeah. So I got here, I think maybe at 10, and it's
So-
now what time?
It is currently 3:52 p.m.
And then each time I'm telling people that I'm trying to get the treatment and then try to go back to get substance abuse.
So then you wish to sign in for psychiatric treatment, correct?
Yeah, I've been.
Okay.
I thought we already started that
Well,
process.
Are you willing to take medications when you're over there?
Oh, they demand that people take medications as a
I'm simply
catch-22.
asking if you're willing to take medications. I'm
That
not
you have to-
demanding that you take it. I'm
I
asking
thought-
if you are willing.
Well, it depends.
to
If they
take
give me
it.
things in mouth, see, let me explain what happens. So they present the same problematic medication deliberately and use that as a catch-22 to con and scheme for services they're already scheming to keep me from. So they want to give me problematic medications and demand that I take them voluntarily.
So then what would you want to go to psychiatry for if they keep presenting you with the same things? Because I don't have control over that.
I just don't understand why people don't get consequences, why you wouldn't understand that a human being should not be treated like that in this country. Why would doctors abuse their power and deliberately prescribe someone problematic medication? And the solution is, why would you want to go there? What kind of choices does that human being have if there's armies full of people scheming to keep them from medical treatment, mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment, their kids, food, water, their own funds, walking down the road, housing, and a gang full of other things, for law enforcement, friendships. And that's just something that I'm thinking on the spur of the church memberships and all kind of other memberships using having access to their phone. Transit, lifts.
Have you ever questioned as to why you were the one this is all done to? Ever had that why me question?
I don't know. Do you know why it could be happening? Have you? Is it like a when government officials rack up felonies? Is that how they
Would
do?
you like for me to know what I think is going on?
Can I just make a statement real quick?
Sure.
So I don't know. Do you think maybe government officials choose to deal with felonies they've racked up in that manner by framing the person that they've racked up felonies against? So they don't get their felonies, they enlist conspiracies like the movie theater. I mean, like the movies. Multiple different armies of conspirators. So a whole bunch of powerful government officials don't get their charge. And the choice that they had repeatedly like to use is framing that party for mental illness until they devise a YouTube channel uploading all the insanity that they have experienced. Like right next to me, there's this woman yelling and screaming when I'm on the phone. They did that at hotel stays, hospital stays, and a lot of different other environments. Even though it's amazing, all someone would have to do is review the camera footage.
So you're kind of going off the top if you were on there.
No, I'm establishing a pattern.
Okay.
If someone were to do law enforcement, how is it that a multitude of people contribute to noise pollution? I'm not being heard. Let me just speak for a moment. How is it that I'm out here just for a temporary amount of time and someone's already next door to me, interrupting me speaking, yelling out of nowhere? I keep reporting insanity like this that you'd have to see to believe. So if someone's setting this up in their conspiracy, these are, I thought, federal charges. So I have to keep on reporting the same thing and obtain evidence of how much power is controlled so people can finally get their consequences. Even though it does not sound, rational, cameras don't lie. And it's not my fault people choose to do strange things and then they want to gaslight and blame me for their misconduct and strange behavior that I repeatedly keep experiencing. So you were about to say something. Were you about to blame me for the...
No, ma'am.
Okay, what were you about to say?
No, ma'am. I was not going to blame you for
Oh, okay, what were you about to say?
I was going to state that from where I sit here, there's a lot that has gone on in life. And I believe that the most appropriate diagnosis you would meet criteria for right now is unspecified psychotic disorder with a heavy lean towards basically rule out schizophrenia. I believe that you have a prolonged persecutory delusion and that the lack of adequate medication for whatever reason has unfortunately resulted in this persistent state of this believing that you're being persecuted again and again.
Oh, what's a delusion? Tell me what's a delusion.
The persecution that you're speaking of.
Okay, what are delusions? What are delusions? Tell me what you think are not factual events.
See, here's
Just if you're slandering me and abusing your power, I thought that those were the consequences. Those are malpractice lawsuits. So I'd like to know what the delusions are, that what you believe are not true and factual events.
I believe that the idea that every person you come into contact with is meaning you ill harm.
Did I say every person?
You did, yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, let me reflect. Maybe there's just a lack of communication.
We do not need to continue because
because making false reports and giving me a false diagnosis, we need to get clarity because I want to get treatment for what I brought myself here for. And if you're deliberately giving me treatment for something else, that's a malpractice lawsuit. So we need to meet a common ground on what you feel is I can pull it up on my YouTube channel so you can see a bus driver. Are you covering for it?
Ms. Clark, I believe that you have a psychotic illness, of which one I couldn't determine right now. I believe that you would benefit from medication like Haldol, Risperdal, or numerous others. However, I can't make a formal recommendation.
I would like to concentrate because the slandering me. I would like to know what you think is.
I believe that you are hurting.
I believe
that due to the nature of psychosis.
What is a psychosis?
I believe that due to the nature of your psychosis, and the nature of psychosis,
you won't tell me what the psychosis is, so we can meet a common ground on what you think is not real.
Is your delusions that you're being persecuted persistently over and over again, no matter where you go, no matter what you do.
Okay, well, can I give you clarity? Can I? Because I can pull it up on my phone, and you can pull it up yourself. So you don't want the evidence. You have to slander me. I can't talk to defend myself. Period.
You've defended yourself throughout this entire process.
But you are saying true and factual events are delusions. Can I defend myself? Because making false statements and giving me, that's a malpractice lawsuit by not treating me what I came here for. Okay. And that's trauma. And telling me real true events are not really happening is malpractice. And if I'm here for trauma and you want to slander me with schizophrenia and having delusions.
I am not meaning to slander you.
Well, then let's get a common ground on what you think is not real so I can prove to you it is real.
That's the thing though, ma'am. I don't think we're going to find it right now.
We can find it because I'm recording.
I think because this state has persisted for so long that
you can't. You don't. Right, so you think that slandering with the state is persisted to so long is going to validate you tampering with evidence and don't want evidence that I'm being violated?
I think unless you're willing to entertain the idea of taking antipsychotic medication.
I'm not getting clarity because I can pull up the videos right now. Okay. What are you saying is not really happening?
I'm stating that the persistent idea that you're being persecuted is likely a delusion.
Okay, so hold on. So let me, if you have that comment. Hold on. You've already stated that. This is not proper mental health treatment or proper treatment. So you stated your part. So you gotta let me talk to defend myself and tell you what really happened.
We are not in a court of law. I have not.
Well, if I'm here getting trauma and you're slandering me, we need to meet a common ground. So let me explain.
Ma'am,
okay, no.
Ma'am, I believe, and I really hope that you get help. However, I think the longer I sit here and persist in entertaining these ideas, I'm simply exacerbating the problem.
I think that maybe you're a conspirator in criminal activity and you're taking bribes to keep me from.
I think as such with that no matter what I say is going to have a skepticism.
It doesn't make sense if you won't let me defend myself and give you evidence and you want to slander me for having delusions. Why don't you let me give you videos and show you? And you have my YouTube channel.
You're right, ma'am, I do.
Okay, so
you are very well known in this hospital. And we've watched your YouTube channel before. I've seen them. What I see is somebody who's hurting and someone I would hope would get help. And it doesn't appear that you're there yet. And I hope one day you are. I really do.
Okay.
Because I think we could really help you out a whole bunch.
I thought it was you that denied me treatment the other time and then you said it wasn't.
It was not me.
I thought it was. I'm pretty sure it was because your behavior was odd because I was desperate and then, but okay, so
right,
you're leaving while I'm talking?
Ma'am, again, I believe that me persisting And having you repeat the same line of thought repetitively again and again is simply just exacerbating what I believe to be the underlying condition. Now,
I think that you're trying to
now,
escape the
I am
situation
aware-
so you don't have to explain the delusions that are true and factual events. I think that this is deliberate and this is a mode, a means of keeping me in abuse and not giving me the treatment
Ma'am,
that I'm here for.
I believe
So
no
that you
matter
have, since
what
it's
I
criminal
say-
to do it, you have to scam a reasoning for your behavior, and that's to leave and walk off and con that you can't hear me defend myself and give you evidence so I can be treated like a normal human being and not slandered. So you have to con that I have to leave because I'm only making your delusions, exacerbating them. But if you were really considerably trying to give me mental health treatment, you would let me defend myself and be able to communicate with you recorded events that I've actually experienced. So now, even if I can have this hospital stay, it's already compromised because you won't take in evidence. You have to leave to enforce that I get violated at this hospital stay. So it's a malpractice lawsuit because my treatment is sabotaged because you want to slander me with the true events being delusions. So I can never get treatment on my trauma to cover for the crooked police and an army full of other people. So if you have seen my YouTube channel and you repeatedly see the police removing me from shelters, hospitals, Walmarts, why am I getting blamed for it? And multiple different shelters at multiple different locations, multiple different lives. If you see multiple different buses leaving me at a bus stop,
I'm not blaming you.
but you're saying that seeing that recorded information is delusions. And that's a malpractice lawsuit for repeatedly saying true and factual events are delusions to keep someone from getting treatment for trauma and abuse.
Outside of wanting to relitigate every single thing that has gone on in your life to perpetuate a pattern that I'm going to believe is psychosis.
I'm getting gaslighting. I'm this
You're going to
gaslighting.
believe is real.
Well,
right?
Why let me give you the videos? I can show you the videos right now.
Ma'am, this is an emergency room. I'm offering you to go to the psychiatric extended observation unit.
But you're slandering me and ruining my hospital stay by slander and covering for the government's crimes so they don't get accountability while several officers are guarding this hospital stay on camera footage.
I'm asking a yes and no question. Do you want to sign in voluntarily to this?
But it's already compromised. I will, but my hospital stays are repeatedly compromised with slander and malpractice lawsuits for saying real and true events are delusions and corruption.
It is a yes or no question I'm asking.
So you're controlling the conversation in this mental health situation and assessment to control it, and then blaming me for it, and acting and conning. So you did say that in the other you were not a part of the other staff misconduct, committing suicide, and then I'm so extremely mentally ill, but some kind of way can't get housing. I need help. And then you are I'm delusional, but you witnessed all this misconduct that you just read. So that does show that multiple different conspirators, and you said that you weren't a part of that. That wasn't you.
If they wrote it in your chart, I have every reason to believe it is accurate. Okay?
It couldn't be accurate. If I'm committing suicide and they thought I was this mentally ill person, why were they discharging me?
Well, ma'am.
That's misconduct on staff.
Again.
And you're stating right now I'm highly mentally ill, and then you just read over notes where they discharged me. You're leaving while I'm talking?
Yes, ma'am.
So you stated that I was highly mentally ill, but they discharged me and then refused me of housing, this person that's completely delusional and psychotic?
I did not state you were highly mentally ill.
They did. But discharged me committing suicide in front of them and denied me shelter and housing.
Ma'am. I'm very sorry.
I thought these were federal charges.
I'm very sorry.
Even if you are a good actor?